You and I are going to be hanging out a lot now, Craig.
Anytime you want to hang.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start cold calling him.
It's true for you.
So here's the thing. When I come to LA.
Craig, it's Conan.
Let's hang.
Let's shoot some hoops.
That's right.
I'm going to drain some threes from 80 yards away that don't go anywhere near the bucket. Nowhere near.
I tell you, that's the bit.
And then I'll go to the back alley comedy club with you.
I think you would do better. You would do better at comedy than I would at basketball.
This episode is brought to you by Chase Home Lending.
Hey, little girl.
You look so dapper today.
So I was telling Julia, one of our producers, that this is one of my favorite jackets.
Yeah, I like that.
So I only wear it once a year on the show. I should wear it more often. Or
get another one.
No,
it only comes in gray?
No, they come in different colors, but I like this color.
Oh, you like the gray?
I like this gray.
Well, I think it would look good in other colors,
I wear it often
too.
off camera.
Okay.
So it gets a lot of wear.
Okay, that's good.
It gets a lot of wear.
It's good to know. It's good to know.
But it's not as hot as your leather outfit you got going on.
Well, this isn't leather. It's sort of like a faux leather. So they're actually more jeansy.
Leather.
They just have a finish. It's a jean finish.
Okay.
It's a sort of a wash that's over, right? So this is really just a jean that gives the leather effect.
Got it.
So just so you know, and they're very comfortable. So you don't get the squishiness of the stiffness of a leather.
Of a leather, yeah.
But thank you for noticing.
You're always put together.
So we've hit a milestone.
It's amazing because it went by like that.
Yeah, it's been a year since we launched IMO.
I know.
So we finished our first year. And we want to thank all our listeners, all the people on YouTube who have tuned in. It's so fun hearing everybody's comments and feedback. And, my friends are always texting me with, I can't believe you said X, Y, or Z. And you run into people all the time.
I do, because I'm out here in the streets. So I run into people all the time who are like, it is a fantastic show. You and your sister are so cute together. And we love the guests. And I also want to thank our staff, everybody here who helped
we could
produce
not do
this thing. It is, it's been a really neat ride. And I've said this many times on this show, being 60 years old and being able to learn something completely new around a young group of people where it's changed my aging. I feel like I'm aging backwards now that we're doing this.
It's the beauty of continued evolution in this phase of life. I say it all the time. It's like, 60 doesn't mean what it used to.
Right.
When I start counting back to what 60 was, and I think about the fact that Dandy, Grandma, our grandparents were this age when we thought they were old, that's kind of a trip. But they kind of stopped. I mean, it's sort of like they pushed they pushed the pause button on life once they retired. And I just think, the recreation of self and trying some new things, I do think keeps you young.
Yeah. And obviously we miss Mom and she's not here to see this, but we're doing exactly what she did, right? She retires at the retirement age, waits about 6 months, and then goes back to work.
Yeah, right.
It's like, what are you doing? And she went right back to work, right in the same office.
Yeah.
And I think that put some years added some years to her life. So,
and she would be proud of this project. She would get such a big kick out of listening to us go back and forth.
She'd be sitting in the back over there. Woo!
What? Yeah, that would have been good having her here in the studio. But this show is a tribute to her because of the parenting that Mom and Dad gave us, because of the people that they were. I think our relationship has always been strong, has remained strong, and a lot of the IMOs, the opinions we have, come from the wisdom they passed down to us. I mean, it's a trip. People. I hear their voices so clearly in my head every day. guiding me and, giving me the reassurance that I'm living life in a way that would make them proud. So it's fun to be able to share some of that advice with the listeners. And hopefully, that's what we hope, is that when people listen to the show, they hear some of what we got to hear, and that it's helping some people along the way. Because that's really the goal here is, to entertain, but to also, share some wisdom along the way.
Yeah, it really is. It's just, when I'm in the airport or, wherever I am, people stop me and they just say, boy, your parents must have been really great.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the real, that's the real tribute for me.
And I also want to make sure to thank all of our sponsors this year. Too many to name right now. We don't want to take, and of course, the show would be nothing without great guests. And we have another great one for this episode.
Yeah.
Conan O'Brien.
I know. I'm at a little disadvantage because you have a terrific relationship with him, and I'm just getting to know him.
I feel very special. And Conan is my friend.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
He's giggling over there. You are my friend, Conan.
I'm a little jealous of Conan because the way you talk about him being such a nice guy and doing things for you. It just sounds like me.
Are you jealous?
And so
that's probably why I like Conan, because he's a tall, friendly guy, just like my big brother.
Yes, he's saving
But
it
I think
now.
he's probably done a little more for me over the years than you have.
Yeah, I know. I've been busy. Well, let me give just a couple of flowers here for Conan. As everyone knows, he's a television host, comedian, writer, producer. He hosted 3 late-night talk shows. Late Night with Conan O'Brien, The Tonight Show, and Conan, and is currently the host of the podcast Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend,
which has one in me.
Which I have recently learned was the first podcast that you ever did.
Yeah,
so,
he was one of the ones I felt safe with in that early stage,
And he will be hosting the 98th Academy Awards. So, Conan, come on down.
Hey, it's my friend, Conan.
Oh, we didn't? Oh,
Well, you came in like you got work to do.
Yeah. I just had a lot of sugar this morning, so.
I think you probably have a lot of sugar every morning. It's not like you know.
It's funny. This is a true story, but I have always had a lot of manic energy. And about 10, 15 years ago, my doctor retired. So I went to see a brand new doctor for the first time. And he's running me through the checklist, of this, just wants to get to know me. And he said, he finally got to this one part of the checklist. And he said, now let's talk about drug use. And I said, which is true. I've never done drugs in my life, never tried a drug, never wanted to get into that. So I said, I've never done any drugs. And he said, let me ask you again about your drug use. And I said, I've never done any drugs. And he said, what about cocaine? And I said, this is true. I said,
you're making this
No, this is 100% true. And I said, I've never done cocaine. And then he put his clipboard down and he said, this questionnaire doesn't work if you're not being honest with me.
Gosh.
And I said, I'm being honest with you. And he said, I've seen your work. And he just assumed that I'm all coked up. And I'm saying this comes naturally, for better or worse.
I was born this way.
Yeah, this is the way. I mentioned this a bunch, but my dad was a doctor and a scientist.
Right.
And maybe after 15, 20 years of being on television, he looked at me and he wasn't trying to be funny. He just said, I think I understand. You are making your living off of something that should probably be treated. And I said, I love you too, Dad.
How old were you when he gave you that observation?
I think he had seen me do the late night show. I might have been in my late 40s when he said that.
Oh my God.
Yes, this was not something he said to this was him looking at the arc of my life and seeing that all of this nonsense that comes out of my head and the crazy energy, in another era, they would have treated me.
Yeah.
You know, they would have put me in a
or
special...
admitted you. Yeah.
Admitted me, yes. That's the nicest thing you've said to me in a while. Put me in a facility of some kind. But now we live in this weird... I mean, it's all when you're born. It's such luck. But in another era, my people in Ireland, you know, standing around and we're supposed to build a stone wall, I wouldn't have been helping with the stone wall. I'd have been off to the side doing bits and going, and then this guy, and then that. And they'd be saying, this idiot doesn't do anything.
Are you unique in your family? Because you have a big family.
Yeah, I'm one of six. I will say my siblings are really nice. They're really smart. They're sweet.
Do they do drugs?
No, they do not. I think we all should. But no, they don't. It is... I see a lot of similarities with my siblings. We all have sort of the same stuff, and it comes in different versions. They're very creative. They're all really funny. And then I just happen to match this particular time in history when we have television and podcasts and places where people like me can actually do this and put a roof over our head doing it, which I don't think existed. You know, it took just in the last 100 years for this to come along.
Well, you said they're all funny.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that come from? Were your parents funny? Was your kitchen table funny at dinner time? And...
Yeah. Everything starts at the kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it was Sunday dinners.
Okay.
My mom always insisted that we all eat together. We have a Sunday meal after church. We come back, we sit around this round table, and we would have our meal. And then people would jockey for who's the funny one at the table and who can really make mom and dad laugh. And especially my dad, when he would laugh, repressed Irish Catholics. And you see this thing that every culture has. What's the key where they're allowed to lose their control a bit? My parents didn't drink. Obviously, there's no drugs. There's no one talked about sex. So there are all these areas that are off limits, but you're allowed to be funny and laugh, and you're allowed to eat tons of fried ham. And those are the areas where we're allowed to let our hair down. And so my dad, when he would laugh, my mom had a great laugh. My dad would hug himself, and he would kind of clap himself and hug himself and rub his hands together. And huge fan of you and the president. And I brought him to an event I did once in Washington, D.C., and he got his picture taken with you guys. And the president was so nice. He said, hey, Conan, Dad, get over here. And he made it all about my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad, for the next 15 years of his life, just had the picture with you guys. And your daughters were kids then, but they were in the picture too. And that was something I think he lived another 10 years because of that. Talked about it nonstop.
Oh my gosh.
But so much of my career was, I think it all began with trying to make the parents laugh.
Yeah.
And that's where things start. And you can then, later on, it can become, I'm hosting the Oscars, or I've got a late night show, or I'm doing this big deal or that big deal. But it's really no different. You're still in some way trying to make them laugh.
Yeah.
You know, and I think just like the two of you, you're probably, for the rest of your life, going to be trying to live up to what your mom or your dad would want. And that stays with you. And I'm a big believer in, we lose these people, but we don't lose them.
Oh, for sure.
They're with you.
Oh my gosh.
And they're why you still, a lot of people would say, you two are good. You're good. You can let your hair down now. You can, but you are trying to still live up to that standard. Yeah. And I think that's what I'm trying to do with my parents.
Yeah.
Hey, Mish, you remember when we used to go on road trips and Mom used to meticulously pack the trunk of car with plenty of food, like fried chicken.
And it never tasted better than in the backseat of a car.
Man, with the coming out of the tinfoil, you know, it was really good. And it would pound cakes, cookies, the whole nine. And I remember it'd be a treat to even get flavored potato chips because, you know, Mom would say, let's just get the plain ones. No barbecue, no salt and sour.
Not a lot of extras in the Robinson household.
No. But now, you know, the difference is night and day when I travel with my family. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, you know, Mom would have to pack for us staying in a place a long time. So it wasn't just snacks for the car because you couldn't just get anything you wanted. So she had to come on vacation with everything she needed for the week, which seemed like a hassle.
Yeah, it was like we had the whole trunk of the car was a grocery store. Now, are you particular about your snacks? For example, I like my cheddar cheese, but I want it cut on blade number 1.
Really?
What about you? Yeah, I like mine thin. I like my cheese cut sliced thin.
I don't think I'm that particular. I think a snack is a snack.
Well, now when I travel with the family and we book a stay on Airbnb, I have the convenience of having our fridge stocked with our favorite snacks or anything we might forget or don't have.
We could have used that when we were little.
How about it? As a matter of fact, Kelly always uses Instacart when we're on vacation. But with this new Airbnb plus Instacart partnership, I love the convenience this feature within Airbnb services to order our groceries on Instacart. The partnership allows you to seamlessly book with your Airbnb reservation before or during your trip. I might do some cooking during my stay this time because our groceries will already be there when I arrive, making it feel like home from day one.
You're manic, you're silly, but you are wicked smart.
Oh,
I mean,
thanks. Yeah.
And so was your family.
Yeah.
I mean, I love hearing about the fact that your mom went back to law school. Can you talk about her?
Yeah, my mother.
She's a badass.
So both my parents were the first ones in their families to go to college. They, you know, everybody's got an immigrant story. Everybody comes from someplace else.
Yeah, let's say that again.
Yeah. No, we all, I
listening.
mean, I last night I was trying some Oscar jokes out in a comedy club, and I took an Uber home, and the driver's from Jordan. And he recognized me, and we started chatting. We had the greatest chat on the long ride from East LA back to my house, and just a wonderful talk. And he put me on the phone. He said, "Can I call my daughter?" And I said, "Sure." She's 25. So he's a Jordanian immigrant. His daughter is taking her MCAT. She's gone to college. And I just was telling him, this was our story too. We came to this country late 19th century. And there's a lot of people not too thrilled to see the Irish in Boston. So my people moved out to the central Massachusetts and worked hard and I think had good values. And then my mother grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts. Her father directed traffic in downtown Worcester. One of the funniest people I've ever met. I remember my grandfather really well. We called him Hoofer because he knew some dance moves. And so everyone called him Hoofer. After like,
and you got none of those genes.
I didn't get those. Look, if I knew I was getting slammed on this show,
Jeez,
I would not have been. Okay.
You don't have to take that from her.
Apparently I do. Yeah.
You don't.
Apparently
You
I
don't.
do. So my mother worked hard and she got a full scholarship because they didn't have, her father earned $55 a week. So she didn't have that kind of money. She got a full scholarship to go to Vassar, which was a big deal. And then she went to Vassar, and when she graduates, she gets a full scholarship to go to Yale Law School. She goes to Yale Law School. She leaves and she goes to a big law firm in Boston. She clerked for a state Supreme Court justice. Then
but she also raised, this was after she had kids, right?
Well,
or
it was
what was the
before.
timing?
It was before she had kids. And then she just started a law firm when she started to have kids. And then she had to take time off.
Because she had a lot of kids.
She had a lot of kids.
You guys just kept coming and coming.
I mean, I swear to God, I think she had a child every 4 months. Medical science is still trying to figure out how the Irish can do that. But yeah, I think my brother Neil is 61. It was born in 61, Luke in 62, me in 63, Kate in 64. I mean, no one ever knew my name in that house. And then there's Kate, Jane, Justin, and she went back to work. And
wow, she went back to work after. So how old
I would
were
say
you all?
she went back to work when I was about, I want to say 9.
Mhm.
I was not happy about that because I loved
bet,
coming home and my
yeah.
mom was there.
Yeah.
But she went back to work. But she had stories of the
Yeah.
early days, early 1960s, when she is a graduate of Yale Law School and she's working at a big firm, and she would go to a meeting with other lawyers and then they would take a break to go to lunch. And they would all go into the dining room, but she couldn't go in because it's men only. And so I would ask her, did that make you angry? And she said, oh no, it was just the way it was. And they set up a card table for me. I sat outside and 2 of the lawyers were very nice and sat with me. And so there was this, I think it gets overlooked sometimes, but there's a thing that happens with people who are on the front line of change.
Yeah, yes.
They, sometimes you think they're going to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're not because they think, I don't have time for this.
That's right.
I've got to win.
Yeah.
I got to get the win.
That's
so
right.
she worked hard. She became a partner. And I think she was, maybe the second or third woman to ever be a partner in this big law firm.
Well, you make a good point that, and I want young people to understand this, because sometimes when change has happened and the younger generation doesn't know what it takes, they can be a bit judgmental about what it took for those two, the kind of mentality, because there's some young women who say, well, why didn't you speak up? And why didn't you use your voice? And or look at an older generation and say that, you're allowing something to happen without understanding the context of the growth.
Yes.
And I think that's why sometimes we get in the way of change, because the younger people think it should look different. They think the attitude should be different. And your mom knew what she knew, being the first woman, the only woman to ever practice law.
Yeah.
And then to make partner. What kind of compromises your mom had to make to get there. And she needed the job too.
Yeah.
She had 6, how many of you all?
I don't even know. I've tried to count my siblings, and there's just 2 more. Too many. I can't do it. But it reminds me a little bit of that. There's that Jackie Robinson ethos where, because he was the first, he felt he had to be completely above reproach.
I know a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying is the I think. I could tell when you and I took a trip once to visit a big, giant military base in the Middle East, which
was an amazing trip.
It was an amazing trip.
Yeah.
I could tell that you and your team were being so careful that everything is done by the book. That there's no, that if there's no perks, there's no. And I was really impressed with that. And it occurred to me then, oh, I see. Everyone feels we need to be so far beyond.
It wasn't even a feeling. It was the truth.
It's the truth. Yeah.
I mean, there's absolutely no way that the behavior in this current administration would have been accepted by the first Black family in the White House.
Right.
So fortunately, it wasn't difficult to do. Because we are those people. It wasn't difficult to follow rules. It wasn't difficult to have high standards. It wasn't very difficult because in order to get where we are, as you've seen and your mother, you don't get here without being damn near perfect.
Yeah.
We don't get to fail 2, 3, 5, 7 times. We don't get to file bankruptcy over and over again and still be considered a successful business person.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we don't get to not be at the top of the class. You know, every I has to be dotted, every T has to be crossed. And your mom was among the first to begin to pioneer that firstness.
Yeah. And I think because they, you know, the big game changer for Irish Catholics in my parents' generation was John F. Kennedy. And you've got this very glamorous first family, and they're Catholic and Irish. I think that made a huge difference for people in my parents' generation, and made a big difference for me because they made it cool.
Yeah.
They made it cool to be Irish. And then I made it uncool. When John Kennedy gave us, I took away.
Were you a cool kid growing up?
God, no. Because how can you ask that?
His pictures?
I haven't. You know why?
Why would you ask that with a straight face?
Here's why. When I first met you, you were surprised how tall I was, as I of you.
Yep.
And the first thing I thought, I'm sure he was an athlete in high school and one of the cool kids and funny in the locker room, that kind of thing. So I want to get that. Tell me about
what happened. Let me explain what happened. Let me explain to you what happened, sir. I was my height came late. So I was one of those guys who had a growth spurt kind of later in the game.
Okay.
So I recently saw someone found footage of me when I'm 22. I'm just out of college. And I think I look like a 14-year-old.
Really?
Yes, of undetermined gender. And I look at that person and I think, you're 22.
So you didn't get your height then?
No, I had my height by then, but I was 6'4". When I moved out to LA to start my career, I was 6 feet 4 inches tall, I think 155 pounds.
Okay.
Now I ask any engineer who's listening, do the math on that structure. It will collapse.
It's going to break.
It's going to go down. And if a moth lands on it, it will collapse. So there was no, people sometimes say, because I make fun of myself a lot, and they say, well, that's kind of an act. And I go, no, that comes from, I think, obviously they know now, your core personality is formed fairly early on. And then you do little finishing touches to it. But by the time you're 15, 16, 17, it's there. And those were years for me where I didn't feel, I was not cool. I was not a good athlete. My brother Luke, who's a year older than me, is much smarter than me. My brother Neil was much stronger. And I just thought, I don't have anything to offer. I really thought that for a long time. And it took me a while. It took me a long time to kind of put it all together, which is why when I say I find myself kind of ridiculous, it comes from a place of honesty. Like that was my personality growing up. And so I was funny with my friends, but I was not the class clown. The class clown, I maintain, usually ends up in like a motel shootout, the class clown, the guy who gets up and changes the clock forward and is, throwing stuff out the window. They're in prison soon after high school. I was not that guy. I was joking around with my friends. And then when the teacher came in, I was really quiet and a nerd. So that's my story.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it got you to Harvard.
Yep.
Which is where a lot of funny nerds go.
Yeah, I didn't even, the irony is as a kid, I dreamed about being in show business and I loved comedy. And that's how my dad and I really bonded. You're always trying to I think a lot of boys look at their dad and think, how do I key into this person? How do I, he can be formidable. I'm not sure how I can really connect with this person. And then we would watch comedians together. We would watch comedic movies and I would see him laugh. And that was where my interest started. And I started doing things and loving the idea of getting to do comedy. And then I thought, I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, Brookline. Nobody within 1,000 miles is in show business. I've never seen anyone in show business. That's not a real thing. I got to find another way. So I decided I want to go to a good college and make something of myself. So I'll just become a grind. It's not a glamorous story, but I was a grind. And I was grinding it out in my little room, memorizing things. And
what did you think you wanted to be?
I thought, well,
what was the pursuit?
I will be a serious person. I'll be a editor of a newspaper, or I'll be an academic.
Were you in English? What was your major?
I was loved English. I was a history and literature major, and I thought that's what I'll do. So I achieved that goal. I get into Harvard. Didn't think I was going to. I did. I think now it's time to become the serious man of letters. And someone said, I'm going to go to this meeting of something called the Lampoon. And I said, oh, I've heard of that. That's pretty famous. Yeah. And I said, maybe I'll tag along.
Was this first year?
This was first semester, freshman year. I was at Harvard for 2 maybe weeks. And so I went, and there's this kooky little building there. And I sat on the floor, and they come in, and we're all sitting on the floor. And they talked to us, and they said, it's very competitive, but you all have to submit funny stuff, and we'll see what happens. And I said, I'll give it a try. And made it through the first cut, made it past the second cut, made it through some other things. And then the next thing you know, I'm a first semester freshman and I'm on the Lampoon.
And I
was hooked.
Let me just explain to the listeners. I equate the Lampoon to like the Harvard Law Review of comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, it is considered.
It's very flattering,
but it is.
Well, it was a huge deal, and so many famous, funny people, and great John Updike had been on the Lampoon, and Robert Benchley, and the guys that created National Lampoon and did Animal House, and I mean, it all came. Yeah. All this great stuff came out of the Lampoon,
and it was unusual to be selected as a freshman.
I think, it was a little bit unusual, and then I gave my whole life to it. It was one of those things where I felt like I had a calling.
Yeah.
Up until that point in my life, I thought anything that I achieved, and this is very Catholic, but I'm sure it's not just Catholic, it's tons of religions and cultures. I thought anything good has to come through suffering.
Yeah.
So I really suffered to do well on the test. I really suffered. I had a lot of anxiety, and then I would do well on the test because I suffered. This was the first time in my life that I would say, hey, here, what about this? And people would say, that's great. And I'd say, really?
That was easy.
And that was easy. I had fun. Wait a minute. I had fun.
Yeah.
Didn't take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And now people are reading it and laughing, and I'm getting that same dopamine hit I get when I make my dad or my mom laugh. What's this all about? And then I was hooked. I mean, I said I don't do drugs, but this is, to me, the most powerful drug. And it goes for all of us. When you find that thing that gives you joy, and then you realize that, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, people thought the greatest thing would be able to turn, lead into gold. I think the closest thing I've seen to that in life is when you can do something that gives you joy, but it gives other people joy too.
Yeah.
And then someone hands you $20 afterwards, a check. I hope it's more than $20.
Yeah.
But
maybe that's just a little bit more than you'll make for the Oscars.
Yeah, probably. Haven't even looked into that yet, but I'm sure I'll lose money. But that is, to me, that is magic in our time.
Yeah.
Is when you can do something that, and you've both experienced this where, wait a minute, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I think I was put here to do, and other people are thanking me. That's insane.
Yeah.
So that, to me, was when I got that first hit. And really, everything has just been an extension of that. When I called my parents senior year and I said, I have to give this comedy thing a try.
Yeah.
And I talked to them as if I was becoming a monk. I said, look, there's probably no money in it. And they were—
No one will marry me.
Yeah, no one will marry me. And that was true for a long time. And then, it's really just all that happened then. And then everything else has just been moving the little chess piece a little further forward. And now I'm here talking to the two of you. So that's the miracle of it all.
March is when the reset fades and the real momentum starts. If you're building something this year, Shopify helps you keep moving. No juggling a bunch of logins, no bouncing between platforms. Everything you need is in one place. Even if it's just you, Shopify's tools and AI, like Shopify Sidekick, act like your back office, helping you go from idea to execution to real growth without losing speed. So think about it. What's the one thing you could put in place this month that would make the rest of 2026 easier for your business? Whether you're just wanting to test an idea out or you're getting serious about launching your own brand, it's never easier to get started. And you can do that on shopify.com/IMO right now. This episode of IMO is brought to you by Chase Home Lending. When you're thinking about buying a home, it's a major decision, a mix of excitement, nerves, and a lot of questions. I've been there myself, and I know how important it is to have someone in your corner. You know, I was remembering back, I could have used some support when I was shopping for my first home. I didn't know anything. I had saved up enough for a down payment, but I didn't have much else to work with. I knew very little about interest rates, closing costs, or even mortgage insurance. I also had very limited knowledge of how to choose the right home for me. Chase Home Lending offers personalized local guidance from home lending advisors who truly understand and support you in your community. With over 5,000 branches nationwide, Chase is always close by. And as a coach, I've had to lean on many people for advice, and that really made a difference as I was going through the home shopping experience. It was comforting knowing that I could rely on folks who had been through the process and emerged okay. Finding a place to call home is a big step, and having someone you trust to guide you can make all the difference. With Chase Home Lending, you get support that feels personal, so you can move ahead with confidence. Visit chase.com/IMO to see how Chase can help you begin your home ownership journey. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity.
After Harvard, did you immediately you were
I
able
had
to?
a good friend in school. I knew that the thing I had to do was go out to LA.
Mm-hmm.
That I needed to go out to LA,
But not New York. Why LA versus New York?
There wasn't a lot of work in New York.
Okay.
There really wasn't a lot of work in New York, and a lot of the work was in LA. And so I said to a really good friend of mine in college, Greg Daniels, who went on to create, most of the great TV shows of the last 25 years, The Office, Parks and Recreation, King of the Hill, co-create that. And he's, just had this huge career. But at the time, we're two pretty nerdy guys. And we're newly 22 years old. And I said, do you want to do this with me? And one of the things that was really key was Greg's a really funny guy, but he was also like an ethical, good person.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I don't want to go out there without a friend who's with me, who I know to be a really high quality person. Rule number one is got to be funny. And he's clearly, hilariously funny, but also a really good work ethic and a good person. So we went out together and, we got some work on a show called Not Necessarily the News, which was on HBO. And this is HBO back when, if you wanted to watch the show, I think in those days, I'd have to tell my parents, you need to go check into a motel. Hey, check out my show. What's it on? Is it on NBC, CBS?
Like,
you need to go to a motel. And yeah, it was like I was working in porno or something. Let's clean that up. Anyway, it was a start. We got started, and then the first thing
earning a salary,
earning a
And
salary.
this was right away because the comedians we have on and the performers, they all go out. Yeah, we do the same thing, but they're struggling for a period of time.
We were lucky. We got that gig right away. I knew I wanted to perform, so I started going to do improv at night.
Wow.
And so I would work in the day and write, and then I would go to these little places where you put a $10 bill in a jar, and then you get up and you do improvisational scenes with other people. And my first time that I went to an improv class, I noticed, like, I was looking at everyone else, because it's the same thing if you're an athlete, whatever you're doing, you look around and you try and
size up
people. And who's the one who's like, okay, they're good.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I walk into this place that's on La Cienega, the Coronet Theater, and it's this tiny little room, and there was a teacher there, Cynthia Seghetti, and you put your money in the jar, and then you get up, and she had us doing different exercises, and I'm looking around the room, and I'm going, no. Who is that? She's good. She's really funny. And her name was Lisa Kudrow, going on to be in Friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this, but at the time, she's looking around the room doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, that guy, the guy that's 155 pounds.
I was like, I was going to ask, how much did you weigh then?
Now I weighed 156 pounds.
Okay.
I had a bagel. And so then I started working with her, and we became really good friends, and then I started meeting other people. Then we lost the job that we had because they had to downscale the staff. So I think Greg taught SAT prep, and I went to work for Wilson's House of Suede and Leather.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
it wasn't even...
It's like, I have to check.
Yeah,
It's like,
they wouldn't... No, I'm telling you.
Of all the shops,
yeah,
you picked Wilson's House of Suede and Leather.
You know, I just want to
you.
I want to give them a plug. I think I went to a temp agency and they assigned me there, and they didn't put me on the floor because I did not look like a guy who could pull off any kind of leather. So they put me like in an office situation, and I wasn't too happy during that period of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But then we got another gig, and then we end up on Saturday Night Live. So we moved back to New York.
Oh.
And then I go to the Simpsons.
So you end up writing for
I'm
SNL.
writing. And then I'm on the Simpsons. And then I was always the writer who would get up on a table and act things out and make the other writers laugh. And so when it came time to find someone to replace David Letterman on his late night show, I had worked for Lorne Michaels, and I give him all the credit. He told NBC, have you thought about this guy, Conan? And they said, the writer?
Yeah.
And with the hair and the weird name? And then he said, I'm just... And they said, well, Lorne, if you'll vouch for him, he can audition. And so I auditioned, and I had a really good audition because I didn't think I had a chance.
Yeah, that's always the way, isn't it?
And so I thought, I'm never getting this.
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest star on television. Next, I'm going to replace him. And I'm just this guy who's 29 years old. I'm still, like, my skin broke out again. It's still happening. And then I just went into that audition and had a blast.
What do you think prepared you? I mean, I think late night talk show hosting is one of the hardest things. I mean, it's just hard being on the show.
I think what helped me the most is at the time people said you need to be a stand-up comic, which I had never done. I'd done a lot of improv. They said you have to be a stand-up comic to be a late night host. And I found that the improv training was all about looking at people and listening and looking for what's funny organically. So I found that to be hugely helpful.
Right.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about being able to take advantage of all the great luck that you've had
Yep.
And that warms my heart because as a coach and as a player, as an athlete, you're always taught that the most prepared person is also the luckiest.
Yeah. It's that old saying, you make your luck. I think, first of all, I got just the time in which I was born.
Right.
I am a poster child for incredible luck. I've been very, very lucky, and I give it up for that. I also know that I work really hard and I prepare and I try to treat people the right way. But I get very angry when people don't give it up for luck. And I'm also really aware that, what was my path like as a white male coming up in the 1980s, 90s, a lot easier than a lot of other people in comedy and probably in any profession. So take a second, give it up for that.
Yeah.
Don't have an attitude about it. Be grateful, and then
don't shut the door on everybody else.
Oh no, shut the door. I disagree completely. Shut that door and nail it shut. Once you get in, don't let anybody else in. That's the message of this episode. Exactly. Yeah, and that's one of the things. I mean, I noticed it today.
Yeah.
I show up and you've got all these great young people. There's great music playing. Everyone looks like they're, 20, 21, 22. And I get...
Except for Dan.
Yeah, Dan, and listen, you served your country in the Korean War, and we appreciate it. 110 years old, but I feel I get so much energy from young people, and when I see young people that are really funny, I choose not to be threatened. I choose to be excited. Like, this person, this guy, this girl, this person is great. They're terrific. They really make me laugh. I want to enjoy them. I want to try and help if I can. And just anything, people, I know your husband feels the same way, but I'm always preaching optimism to my people and cautious optimism.
Yeah.
I always say I'm like a 51, 52% optimist, but I do say the world has always been filled with horribleness. There's always been trouble. And when young people preach to me, it's all over, or say it's the end of the world, or I just say, you have to understand, this is the way it's always been.
Yes.
And this is how it feels. And it reminds me of this great scene in the movie, The African Queen, Humphrey Bogart, Katharine Hepburn. They're in this boat. They're lost in the weeds. It's a great metaphor for life. They're trying to get out. He's pulling the boat with a rope. He's covered in leeches. He gets back in the boat, and finally he gives up. And she gives up. And he says, we're never getting out of these weeds with this boat. We're never getting out of here. And they give up and they say, we're just going to die now. And the camera they kind of pass out, and the camera slowly pulls up, and you see it starts to rain. And you see that their boat is about 15 feet from a massive river. They just don't know it.
Yeah.
And then the water rises, and when they wake up in the morning, they're on the river. And they're safe. And I always think about that. I think there have been probably 35 times in my life
when I thought dead on the boat.
I thought I was on the boat and I'm dead on the boat. I am not going to make it through. I'm not going to get to the college I want to go to. It's over. Now I'm in the college, but I'm not going to. I made that, but I'm not going to get the career. Then you get part of it. Oh no, I've got this late night show, but critics hate me. And everyone says this was a mistake. This kid who gave him this job. There's no way I'm going to make it. Everyone's saying you'll make it a few months, but then you're out. And then I make it past that. But then later on, I get the Tonight Show, and I think, now I'm in good shape. Nope, that blows up. And I thought, now it's really over. No, it's not. It keeps happening over and over and over again. And then it's just learning
To roll with it.
To roll with it and say, okay, what's my next opportunity? Reset, recommit, and look for the next opportunity. And that is something I try to impart to my kids.
My mom really liked meeting you.
Oh, that's nice.
She really liked meeting you. So we, and I used to, I live a train ride away from her. So I visit her all the time. And we talked about, it was really fun getting together and seeing, but that Conan, he was just such a
that's nice.
So you should know that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's huge for me.
That must have helped you land a beautiful wife.
I don't know what I did there.
One of my favorite people.
I just got, my wife Liza is pretty incredible. And
how'd you guys meet?
We met, I was I was out doing a field piece. And how those work is there's a silly idea. I say, okay, I'll do it. And then I show up someplace and we shoot
Which
cameras
bit
out.
Was it? Were you in it?
I was in it. It was a bit where, it's a long story, but there was a really, we decided it would be very funny if I went to a top advertising agency and pitched a terrible idea.
I just love these bits.
And my favorite spot is me being very confident about something that's really stupid.
Okay.
And so I went in, and so it was my idea it wasn't my idea, it was someone else's idea, but my job was to go in there and go, let me tell you something. And these are the people that do Air Jordan ads, the best of the best in a room. And I'm supposed to go in and pitch them the worst idea and have total confidence in it and almost treat them with contempt if they don't get what I'm saying. So I go into this room and I start doing my thing I do. And I do one person. And then I start talking to this woman. And I immediately stop being funny. And I just start saying, okay. So did you write I see. So you got your degree and, And then she went, yeah. And I was like, no. Well, see, yeah. But what I did was I studied this, but then I did that. And we were just talking about the most mundane stuff. It wasn't comedy. I wasn't even trying to be funny. And my producers they got the headsets on.
What is happening?
They're like, what's he doing? What's he doing? This is death. What's he doing? And then we chatted for a long time. And then I finished up the segment. And then my head writer, Mike Sweeney, who's still my head writer and working with me on the Oscars and does an amazing job. But he was like, what was that all about? And then I said, I don't know, but maybe we should get everyone's contact information. And he said, why would we need their contact information? And I said, I don't know, editing? And he was like, that doesn't make any sense. Editing? What are you talking about? But the next thing you know, we just start talking on the phone.
Yeah.
So we didn't even have that's not even a date. We just met. Yeah. And then we just talked on the phone.
How old were you?
I was, 35? Maybe.
So
I was no spring chicken.
So you completely ruined the bit because
they fell in love.
They salvaged the bit, but you know what's great? You can look it up. You can say Conan meets his wife. Conan meets Liza.
Okay.
And you can see me. I look still like now I was 35, so I look like a 20-year-old girl. And I'm there going, oh, hey, how are you? And you can see us talking to each other. And it's online. And
I'm gonna watch it.
I've never watched it because I know what the real experience was, and I don't want to see it. But we ended up, dating, and then we got married and kids. And it's been, I think, we got married in 2002. So
wow.
I didn't go to a good school. I can't do the math.
Yeah, but, and I'm not even trying.
That's a neat story.
It's a great, and it was really nice. And it's crazy. Liza's mom watched it at home.
Mm-hmm.
She stayed up and watched it at home. Her dad was like, I'm going to bed. I don't need to see. And she was like, our daughter is going to be on national television. The bit's airing tonight. He didn't know anything about us. We hadn't even chatted yet. We had met, but that was it. We hadn't even talked on the phone yet. But Pam, my wife's mom, she stayed up and she watched it. And in the morning, she said to Jake, unless that guy's an axe murderer, he's going to be our son-in-law.
Wow.
No way.
And they said, she said that to more than one person.
Wow.
And they said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That TV show host who had a brief exchange with your daughter is going to be your son-in-law. And she went, I just think that's what's going to happen.
Wow.
And happened.
Oh.
She knew. She knew. And I know that Liza just lost her mom.
She just lost her mom. And
Sorry.
But, well, you guys have been through it too. It's just one of those, it's too profound to even contemplate. But I think the thing that is some consolation is these people are with us. They're in us.
That's right.
Like we didn't lose them. And I really believe that. And you don't even have to be spiritual to believe that.
Right.
They imprinted on us and they're with us. So you're always going to have your mom. I'm always going to have my parents. Liza's always going to have her mom. They live on through us. We just lost Catherine O'Hara, who is one of the, maybe possibly one of the, not possibly, but one of the great comedic actresses of all time. And at the same time, one of the best people. Just a lovely, lovely person. And talk about walking the walk. She really showed up for everybody. And Martin Short just gave the eulogy and he just said, she's with us. We didn't lose her.
Yeah.
She's with all of us.
Yeah.
She imprinted and her work is with all of us. And so that's what I take away from the whole
agree.
thing.
And sometimes I literally, my mom comes out of my mouth, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm noticing it more and more when I say something. And I was like, oh, that was mom.
Yeah.
It's like, I hear it. I was like, oh my God, she just.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I want to talk about the Oscars because you said something right when you came out that you went to a comedy club to try something out.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that whole process to somebody like me who's sort of not in the, and probably our listeners who don't get a chance to talk to someone.
If you'll explain to me how to be an athlete, then I will
can do
explain
that. I can do that.
If you would work with me for a 5-year period.
Listen, I love developing talent. So.
Okay, well, I have no talent in that area, so good luck to you.
Perfect.
But
I'll have you making shots in.
Oh, really?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2
okay.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. I like to be that guy that's way, way outside, taking up crazy 3-point shots that don't go near, but with total confidence. And I love to shout stuff out when I'm doing it.
And a freeze.
And then freeze and do that look of like, deal with it. And it doesn't even hit the rim. It misses the backboard.
Okay, that's the next bit.
That's the next bit.
Yeah, that's it. Where you have a coach who's working with you for weeks
and you
to
have
get you to
all
make
the
a
attitude.
shot.
That's all you have.
I did a thing with Magic Johnson. We shot a thing where I think we played a game of horse together, and I'm just being such a clown. But he was so funny, making fun of me, the way I shot, the way I moved. He starts to imitate me at some point. That was a dream come true. The Oscars, there's a lot of different parts of it, and you start thinking about different bits and what could we do for pre-tapes? What could we do? What kind of production number could we have? But you're always thinking about jokes. What could the jokes be? And you really want to test them. And one of the ways to do that is to go out to clubs. And what I like to do is go start way far out. So we went to Covina, which is way out there. I mean, I think I was driving for almost an hour, got to Covina, and you go into a club and you're a surprise. And then you read a bunch of Oscar jokes. And it's fun because you make them part of it. You say, look, if you guys laugh at a joke that isn't good, that might convince me to do it. And then I'm going to die on the Oscars. So don't do that to me. And they're laughing at the part where you're not even reading the joke.
Yeah.
I love that. And I've gone to a couple of clubs like that. I did one last night. And you just go way out there. All of them are the same. They're the same in that you're in some back room or an alley standing around with other comics, and it's this lesson I've learned again and again and again, which I actually find kind of filled with hope, which is you think you've gotten to this other level where it's like, well, I'm hosting the Oscars and I'm going to walk out at the top and have a tuxedo. But I'm in Covina in an alley and I'm hanging out and someone's got a ventriloquist dummy and I'm waiting for my, I'm waiting for my turn to go out there.
Did you?
You did that on purpose.
No, I didn't.
The
You did that.
reason why
He did that on
I did not.
Who told him?
What? I don't know what we're talking about.
Craig loves
Who
ventriloquism.
I honestly, I swear to you. I swear to you.
Yeah, I don't trust you. You're too funny.
We've been talking about this
I honestly don't know
episode
what you're talking
after
about.
episode.
You don't.
I do not.
He is,
I
I think,
think
the last person who believes that ventriloquism is a lost art.
Is an
and he wants
underutilized
to bring it back.
performance vehicle.
When you see a good ventriloquist, it is really funny.
How about it?
I'm going to
It's
side with you on this.
hysterical.
When you see a really good one, it's really funny.
It's so funny. See?
Okay,
But did you put him up to this?
No, I
No,
did
no.
not.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know anything about this. Your link to ventriloquism. I swear to you. I would tell you right now, but no one said, hey, you want to get crying, mention ventriloquism. I did not do that. I just mentioned, like, that's how kooky it is
Right.
when you're in the alley. It
Right.
is. And I love that. I love that it's this constant dance between put on the tuxedo and you're in an alley.
Yeah.
In a t-shirt and jeans.
Do your nerves get? I mean, I watch you walk on stage to this audience of every famous person on earth, and they're not a regular audience.
They're not a regular audience.
They're nervous. They're looking at themselves. They're
very
deeply
self-involved.
self-involved and self-conscious. And you're out there to be funny.
Yeah.
I mean, does that change the nature
It's
of
a very different.
Yeah.
It's a very different audience. Like when we would do the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I did that once under your administration. And I remember I got to sit with you, and it was really fun because, you were so nice to me that night. We're sitting up on the dais, but that is not a normal crowd.
Yeah.
That is a crowd of people that think they're the coolest people in the world, and they're there. They're thinking a lot about their own world, and you need to be funny, but you can't act like you know too much because then they'll resent you for that or think you don't belong. And so everything is this incredible long period of preparation to gauge what's going to work in that room that doesn't go too far this way, doesn't go too far that way. And then I've talked to your husband about this. They make you follow the leader of the free world. He goes first.
Right, really.
And kills it. And then before...
usually they don't.
Yeah. Well, I know.
the format usually works in the best interests of the host.
The president we're discussing, unusually good at that. And then he would finish, like, drop the mic, crowd going crazy, and a voice would go, "Ladies and gentlemen, Conan O'Brien." And you're like, well, that's it? And you're walking up and you see people like, what? Who would go now? And so you got to wade through that a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's all calculating for what's the assignment. And the assignment is with the Oscars, like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, is think about that room and calculate. You're not at a club where they are there to get a drink and then suddenly you pop up and they're really thrilled.
Yeah.
They're not, if you go to a high school and they're just losing their mind that you show up, that's a very different crowd than now I'm going to speak to a bunch of, A-list people who don't really like to give it up for anybody. But it's all just a calculation. You got to calculate and then have fun.
Do you like that risk? Does it feel like, I know how to be, like this is you on some high wire. Do you feel, is it a test for you?
I think I must like that to some degree because I keep signing up for things like that.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem. And when it's 3:00 in the morning and I can't sleep, Liza's like, maybe we don't do another one of these.
Again.
But But I do like, I think the trick is to, I figured out a long time ago, if I'm having a good time, things tend to go well.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost unheard of for me to have a really good time up in front of people. And people afterwards say, well, that was awful.
Yeah.
If I'm enjoying myself, so I just keep trying to think of things. I want to tell a joke I really like.
Yeah.
Now, they may not like it, but if I really like it,
You would crack yourself up.
I will crack myself up. And then I'm like, okay, well, this job didn't pay much anyway. So I had a good time. And that's kind of my mission is I want to think of things and do things that I enjoy. And I think instinctively we like to watch people having fun. We like to watch athletes who are having fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're really when they're playing well, they are enjoying themselves. It's fun to play at that level. It's fun to give a great speech. It's fun to be up in front of people doing what you feel you were put here to do. So that part I really like. And it's just doubling down on that. How do I figure out? And if something starts to develop and I think, I don't really like doing this, cut it. Don't do it.
Do you feel like comedy is more fraught these days? I mean, it just,
Yeah, I think it's
talk show host or not,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I obviously I friends with the hosts. I'm not a late night host anymore, but I'm friends with them, and I think they're all very talented. They're really good people, and they're in a tough situation because of your job is to go out and talk about the news every day. And I was never, strictly a comedian that lived off the news or did, I usually tried to find things that were silly and funny outside of the news, but we also had to do the news. And things are so divisive right now. And I think it's got to be just a really tough task.
Yeah.
And I do have empathy for people who are trying to figure out what's funny in this, because I know just as a citizen, I get up in the morning and I look at what happened in the news. My first instinct, I like to be funny, but my first instinct when I read the news is nothing here gives me joy or is making me laugh that hard. And that makes me think of ideas outside of the news about everyday life or something. There's a weird ad on TV that cracks me up.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I probably look for. But if you're doing one of those shows, how do you not talk about it?
That's right.
And then how do you not wear your heart on your sleeve and maybe get mad or, so it's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah.
On our show, we have an audience question, a listener question. But before we get to the listener question, I need some development. You've been in the podcast business for a long time.
It feels, actually, no, not that long. But yeah, I guess kind of
longer than IMO.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Any tips? Any best practices? What is it about the podcast that you like doing that might be helpful to I won't say young, but fledgling podcaster like myself?
You are younger than me.
No, I'm older than you.
Yeah, he's my big brother.
Yeah.
He's older than us.
I'm older than you.
He's an old man.
I was probably on campus when you were on camp. I was probably over in the gym playing your basketball team when you were a freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm older than you are.
So you were in the gym playing real sports. When I was
you were at the Lampoon.
I was in a weird castle. I'm on Auburn Street thinking of something weird and giggling.
Yeah, and I probably would have preferred to be over there.
If you ask me.
Yeah.
Who's the cool one, really? Yeah, wow, that's incredible. I thought you were maybe 32 years old.
Oh,
incredible.
Please. Yeah, thanks.
And a ventriloquist. But
budding ventriloquist.
I'm with you on that. I'm going to help you. I'm going to find you the right dummy. I'm going to get you a good one. I'm going to get you a teacher too, because I want to see you do it.
Please.
I think. I mean, I don't know the answer. I know it works for me.
Okay.
Which is, and you're doing it. Great snacks out there. It starts with the snacks. It ends with the snacks.
Okay.
Don't let this one, too many kale
snacks.
chips. You got to have some good, and then some of them have to be bad for you. Some of them have to be
kale chips.
no
Hey,
kale chips,
okay.
no high fructose,
Right.
this or that.
Yeah.
No, you want to have, you've got that. You've got good snacks. There's a really good vibe here. Like, it's fun to come here. And I think that's a big thing. You want people to come into the store and want to walk around and check stuff out. And so that is all working. And you two know each other so well. You can finish each other's sentences and there's a good bond here. So that's all good. And to me, it's like, I think I'd be a fool to give you guys any advice on what to do that you're not doing. I mean, it'd be nice if I got an expensive gift on the way out. I'm just putting it out
We're
there.
working on that.
Okay.
I mean, like a watch.
Okay.
Like a good watch.
All right.
Like a Patek Philippe watch.
Here, you can have this one.
That watch weighs more than I do. I could drive that watch home. It looks like a car. No, I think, it's all about enjoying yourself. Again, I'll go back to that same thing I said about the award show or doing a nightly show or anything else, which is talk about the things you want to talk about, that you're passionate about. I think passion and authenticity works better than anything in this format. And you're doing it. So I don't, other than stop lying about your age, come clean. You are a 32-year-old man.
I am.
You were born in 2005.
I am 63, was soon to be 64 in April.
April.
Wow.
He's my
when's
big
your
brother.
birthday? What
April
day?
21st.
I'm the 18th. I'll be 63 on the 18th.
Yeah.
Oh, you.
I like an April birthday.
So do I.
I like it.
Why? What's so
you
good
get far
about it?
enough away
What's
from
so
the
good about it?
holidays.
What's so good
You
about
get far
it?
enough away from the holidays where when you get gifts, it feels good again.
Yeah. Also, I grew up on the East Coast.
Okay.
You guys, I know Midwest, it's starting to get nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
yes.
I always associated my birthday with
the sun.
wait
is
a
up.
minute.
Here comes
the sun is out for the first time in 9 months. And there's a little bit of joy. And some birds are chirping. I like that.
Absolutely.
The smell of grass.
Are
is
you into
back.
horoscope stuff? Do you do? I don't really.
No, I'm not.
I'm not at all.
I'm not.
I-
I thought you were going to say
I'm
you were.
not.
Well,
I'm
all
not.
these young people are, so I
They-
probably know more than it because it's all about. Oh, you're a Leo rising and a
I
sun
know.
moon to sleep, and I'm like, what?
No, and then I ask them, they'll say things like, oh, that's so Aries. And I'll say, why? And they'll say,
Really?
oh,
Yes.
because, Aries is, loves a challenge and loves to push themselves and is a ray of light. And then I'll read, well, what's a Taurus? Loves to really challenge themselves, full of goodness and light. And you're like, well, it's all.
And then if you say something else, then say, oh, you must be a Cancer moon.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, so now there's something for every aspect, you
Yes.
know, because there's moons and there's your sleeping sun. What are these?
There's only
always-
12. It can't be that different.
Everybody can't, right?
Can't be
well,
that
we just
different. It's only
alienated
12.
your entire staff.
I know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
They're
we've
listening
had this
right now,
discussion.
like, these
Yeah.
people,
We've
they
had
don't
this
get it.
discussion.
And they
They're trying
also
to
like
convert me.
manifesting everything.
Well, that's Oprah's fault. We blame Oprah for that. You can manifest it. I can manifest all day and all night that I want to be an amazing basketball player.
Yeah, it is.
It's not
Not
happening.
happening.
Or
That's
I'd like to be a
exactly
male
right.
model. I'm going to manifest it. Not happening. There's so many things that I cannot manifest.
Right.
Well,
Well-
let's get to our listener question.
Okay.
'cause
Yes.
we get some advice.
My name is Jake, and I'm from Indiana. And my question is, how do I overcome feeling lost in my career? I achieved my childhood dream job at 21. I had worked for it since 5th grade, but then I decided I just didn't like it enough to do it forever. At 25, I switched to a new job with good opportunity, but it's far from home where I'm originally from, and I don't want to be here forever. I'm now 26 and I don't know what I want to do. I don't love the idea of going back to school because I'm not sure there's anything I'd love to study full time. I have ideas, but nothing concrete. And with this constantly evolving world, I feel stuck, lonely, and depressed as a result. Help.
26
Right
too.
up
This
your
is
alley.
what we were talking about.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a big theme of this podcast, not through design, but it just
Mhm.
happened. But, in the brief description, you listen to what Jake's achieved already, and it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just one of the things that takes a long time to figure out. I do think that we're in a world now where you take constant snapshots of your life. And if the latest snapshot doesn't please you, you think things are really dire. And this is called being 26. I mean, it sounds to me like Jake is kind of ahead of the game, has already had a lot of success, has options, and now is wondering what to do. This is a feeling you're going to have now, and then it's going to go away, and you're going to have you're going to have a period where you think you're back on track, and then it's going to come up again.
Mm-hmm.
And this feeling will revisit you, and that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It means you're a person. And we all have that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's anyone who looks at you and thinks, well, she doesn't have any problems. She's a former first lady,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got the world by the tail, and it's just, doesn't understand that you can have a really bad Thursday. You can have a really bad October.
Exactly.
You can have a bad year.
Yes.
You can have a bad 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That is called being here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, and no one escapes it. No one gets out of it. And I think young people like Jake put so much pressure on themselves, and they forget that sometimes treading water is just fine.
Yes.
That's, not every day has to be a sprint to the finish line. You can have periods of your life. I've had many of them
Mm-hmm.
where I think I'm not really getting anywhere. I'm treading water, but I'm not drowning.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I think try not to be too self-critical.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to be too tough on yourself, and appreciate what you have and what you've already achieved, and know that also 26, you're a baby.
Right. Yeah.
That's my answer.
It's a great answer. It's spot on. And Jake, it's like 26 is, it's, if you're lucky, and luck has a lot to do with it. With this generation, they're going to live until their 90s, assuming that we continue to have good health care, which this generation should care about, because that's going to play a role. But science is definitely on their side. We've learned a lot. People are healthier. They're living longer. So let's just say if Jake is lucky, he's going to be here till he's 90.
Yeah.
That's like, I can do that. That's 70 more years. 70 more years to live a life and to figure it out. So the 20s and the 30s, and I would even say now the 480s, are the period where you aren't going to know.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a handful of people, and they're rare, that pick a thing at 18 or 22 and they get it right. It's their passion. They're good at it. And then there's a job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not the norm. That's the exception. And again, with social media, he's probably seeing some of those people post, look at me living my best life at 26. I'm already a millionaire, and I've done this, and I have a boat, and that's not the norm. It wasn't the case for me.
Also, people don't always tell the truth.
That's right.
On social media.
That's absolutely right.
That may be someone else's boat.
Exactly. 9 times out
I've
of 10.
done that. I've often taken photos of botes and said, check out my boat.
That's right.
I don't have a boat.
That's right.
You've often done that?
No, I'm kidding. I'm going to start doing it because I'm getting in the idea that'd be cool.
Right.
But no, I think that's people.
There are going to be many lives, and that's what you want out of life.
Yeah.
You want to keep evolving. You want to keep trying on new things. And, I certainly did that. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, went to law school, wrong about that, didn't like that. That felt a little shocking, all that debt. And I was like, damn, I should have checked to see if I liked law before I did it. But I didn't. And so I left the law. And thank God I did, because it wasn't the profession for me. Thank God I had parents who didn't care about that, and they encouraged me. And my brother, we went down should have been a certain career path.
Yeah.
And entered into it and said, whoa, this isn't me. And so I had to redefine it. I had to start looking around, asking questions, exploring, trying on new things. And that's when I learned that I love service and I actually like working with people. I don't like reading documents and just writing memos. I like sort of living in life. I learned that about myself. And if I had stayed in the law firm and become partner, I wouldn't have, I would probably figure that out because ultimately you do have to wake up. Yeah. Even if you pick a thing, I've met people who have been in a profession their entire lives, just putting up with it because it paid the bills. Yeah. And then at 60 or 70, they find the thing that they care about. You know, the work is waiting for you. That work of figuring yourself out, it's waiting for you. And so
he's probably in it right now.
He's in it right now.
Like a guy like Jake you're not even aware. Mm-hmm. Some people think. Sometimes I'll talk to one of my kids and they'll say, "Oh, I wasted time today. I've got this thing to," but I didn't really, I didn't make a lot of progress on it today. And I'll say, I have found that often you're working and you're figuring things out when you don't even think you are.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we have, front part of our brain, we have all these, and then you have a part of your brain that's chewing on things while you don't even know it. So Jake might be figuring a lot of stuff out right now. That's crucial. Yeah. Where he realizes, I want to be an astronomer. Yeah. And then, but that's still a year from now when he has that revelation. But it is working on him on some level.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, Conan, because I was just watching something, and I can't remember if it was PBS or it could have been on social media. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, the renowned scientist who is very entertaining, but I really enjoy him. When he talks, I listen. And he said something that I had never heard before, that procrastinators are usually highly intelligent.
Yeah.
For the reason you said, that they procrastinate because they want to give their brain enough time to come up with the solution. Mm. And like you said, this could be happening with Jake right now.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
So hang in there, Jake. And, my sister and I talk about this all the time. Try stuff. Try stuff to find your passion. And sometimes you don't find your passion, but you'll find something that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's no, I think a lot of young people don't realize that they have more room for error than they think they do. You can try something and wipe out, or it just doesn't go anywhere. No one's paying that much attention, and no one later on is going to present you with, hey, wait a minute. I know you're a big success now, but remember when you tried to open that dry cleaning business and it didn't work 35 years ago or whatever? Right. But no, that happened. I got out of it. I paid my debts, and then I tried this.
Yeah.
Once you figure out what it is, you're not penalized. No one, there's not a referee there watching, blowing the whistle, saying, nope, you're out. You just made a mistake.
Yeah, life's over.
It feels that way, but it's not happening.
Yeah. It's a great point.
Well, speaking of evolving, and hopefully that helps Jake, you're still evolving. I mean, did you just have your acting debut?
Yeah, I did.
I watched If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
Mm-hmm.
It's
intense.
It's intense, but so good.
Rose Byrne is phenomenal.
She is amazing.
Yeah, she's absolutely spectacular. And
How was that for you? I mean, was that your first time?
More or less.
And you were serious.
It was a serious role.
Yeah.
They sent me the script, and I said, well, this is a great script, but this isn't really what I do. This guy's the complete opposite of me. The director met with me, Mary Bronstein, who wrote it, directed it, and she said, I really want you to do this. And I said, I don't think you should want me. You should get someone who really knows what to do with this. Mm-hmm. And she said, I really do think it's you.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I'm going to try, but I give you permission to fire me at any point and we'll still be friends. Yeah. And I said, and if I'm not, because I love Rose Byrne, I don't want to let her down. I don't want to get in the way of this amazing movie. Fire me, fire me, fire me.
Yeah.
And even if you shoot with me and you want to cut me out, cut me out.
Yeah.
No hard feelings. So, but again, I worked on it. I thought about it a lot. I worked on it.
You were good. You were incredibly believable. There was no sign of regular Cohen.
Well, here's the disturbing part.
Conan.
The guy I play has no empathy. Everyone hates him and wants to kick him. And people were just so mad at my character. And it's worrying me that that's inside me. I may have let out the real me.
Yeah.
And this,
Been holding it in all the time.
that's in there. And so, but it was a real challenge, and it was scary. But again, going back to, the question we just got, I've gotten to a point in my life where I think, give it a shot.
Yeah.
There are things I know I shouldn't be doing. If someone said, hey, fly this F-16 fighter, gee, I've never done it before, but, no one's going to penalize me if it doesn't work out. Yeah, you'll be killed. You might kill other people.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of things I shouldn't just give a try to, but this one, I really went off the belief of the director. And it was a lot of fun. And I'm really proud of Rose because she's nominated for Best Actress.
She is phenomenal. You got it. Craig is not pop culture ready. I told him he has to be better.
That's not
in
true.
this job where pop culture is.
That is not
he's
true.
got to watch movies.
What do you watch?
Turner Classic Movies.
Oh, okay. All right.
I watch Turner Classic Movies. See, look. I like watching movies. It's hard to watch these new series that have part after part after part.
You can't keep up. And then what happens?
I've got a job. I work for the Coaches Association. I'm coaching my kids' teams, and I'm doing this podcast. I don't have time for just Real Housewives on Real Housewives of Brooklyn. I don't have time.
Is there a Brooklyn Housewives?
No,
there is.
There
I
is
thought you
not.
said there was.
It's New York. It's not Brooklyn.
Oh, well, I bet they all.
This
live
is
in
what
Brooklyn.
I'm dealing with.
I bet they all live.
No,
in
they
Brooklyn.
don't.
There's
I
a
know
Real
nothing
Housewives
about
Staten
it.
Island. You should check that out.
Is there really?
No, I just made it up.
Do you have to recuse yourself when?
No, because I really have no power in this thing. I'm like the cruise director on the boat. I'm not the captain. I don't steer it.
Okay.
My job is to get everyone to play a little shuffleboard.
Yeah.
Get them drunk, and then hope that we don't hit anything. But that is my job. So no, I don't have to recuse myself. I'm allowed to be really excited should things work out for Rose. But if not, she still gave an amazing performance.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great having you.
This has been lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Conan.
These
Thank
things
you
are
so
it's a
much.
joy, honor to talk to you both, and
likewise.
And it's always a joy. Really,
we have a good time.
It's great to get to know you more, and thank you for doing this.
So you and I are going to be hanging out a lot now, Craig?
Anytime you want to hang.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start cold calling him.
It's true for you.
So here's the thing. When I come to LA.
Craig, it's Conan.
Let's hang.
Let's shoot some hoops.
That's right.
I'm going to drain some threes from 80 yards away that don't go anywhere near the bucket. Nowhere near.
I tell you, that's the bit.
And then I'll go to the back alley comedy club with you.
I think you would do better.
Ventriloquist.
You would do better at comedy than I would at basketball. That I promise you.
No
would you?
No
would you
way.
teach him how to do Can you?
I'm going to get him. I don't do ventriloquism, but I will get a person to teach you ventriloquism. But we have to get you the right dummy too. It's got to be a good dummy.
Conan, you could not have teed up our 1 year anniversary.
Oh my God.
Way.
Look at this.
Surprise for both of them, Ben.
Why don't you do the honors?
Do the honors.
Look at this. Oh my goodness, you guys are too much.
It's little
Can I just say,
do you see?
This is beautiful and horrifying at the same time. This dummy has had very bad work done.
Look at his hands.
Oh.
His hands are huge.
Yeah, this is the nightmare that will never end for me. I'm going to be trying to do the Oscars, and I'll stop because this face will be looking at me.
Could you see if we were there in the front row?
Put him in the front row.
Right. Conan.
We'll put him right next to Timothy Chalamet.
And heckle you.
Yeah. Hey, Conan.
Conan, you having fun up there?
Get some better material, Conan. He's going to steal the show at the Oscars. Yeah.
This is a really tall
Woody.
dummy.
It is.
Well, it should go on your lap.
It's on my lap.
Oh, okay. Well, he's a basketball player.
I get it.
He's tall.
Perfect.
He's a basketball player.
This is perfect.